there, beautiful light-skinned ladies. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dolce K if you're new here. I make videos about light-skinned Black women and our experiences. I talk about the ways that we can navigate color discrimination, how we can promote self-love for ourselves and for our skin tone. And today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different just because I felt called to talk about it. As a light-skinned Black woman, when people see you, they may or may not think about Blackness. They may not associate you with being Black. They may associate you with a particular political standing. They may associate you with Kamala Harris if you are a light-skinned Black woman or a light-skinned mixed woman with some ambiguous features, such as myself. Kamala Harris, I actually look closer to her than I would look to a monoracial Black woman. Okay, so I want to talk about how I'm thriving as an exotical in 2024 during Trump's presidency. And this is not a pro-Trump video. It's not a pro-Kamala Harris video. I'm just making some observations and telling you the things that I already started doing earlier this year to navigate, this particular outcome, having a Trump presidency. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. I'm going to give you a moment to do that. Hit the button. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so I want to give you some background, a little bit more background before I get into sharing some of the things that I'm doing. I'm not going to play any videos or share any videos or screenshots or anything like that, but a lot has been going on. And I feel like people are losing their minds on social media. And it's making me feel a little bit guarded, like, okay, I may need to change things up a bit. One of the things that I noticed is that this was the very first presidency that I saw where there was so much discourse about a presidential candidate's race. When I say race, I'm talking about their genetic makeup. I'm not talking about like the election, right? But a lot of the criticism that I saw for Kamala Harris coming from Black women, coming from non-Black women, coming from everyone really, was about her race. It really wasn't about her credibility to run as a president. I also noticed that Candace Owens made over 75 episodes digging into Kamala Harris's background to try to prove whether or not she really is Black or if she's Black enough. I never saw anyone do that with former President Barack Obama, interestingly enough. And it's just interesting that whenever we have a candidate of color, especially a Black candidate, that there's criticism. But this is the first time I saw so much criticism around, oh, is this person even Black? A lot of the criticism I saw online from Black women was specifically about Kamala not being Black enough. With that being said, and now that we have a Trump presidency as well, and white people also shared those same sentiments as well, I am pulling away from both monoracial Black spaces and monoracial white spaces. And for this conversation, I'm going to use monoracial and monocultural interchangeably. So if it's a monocultural or monoracial Black space, I'm pulling away from it. If it's a monoracial or monocultural white space, I'm pulling away from it. Okay. And when I say spaces, these are groups that I've been a part of or places that I would frequent. Okay. So starting off with the Black spaces, the beauty supply store. I'm not going to the beauty supply store ever again. I don't think I'm ever going to go to the beauty supply store again. I just don't feel like it would be safe for me. I don't know if you remember that beauty supply store where a light-skinned Black woman was walking in, and because she was accompanied by a white woman, there was another Black woman there who started, yelling at her and shouting at her that you shouldn't be in here. You shouldn't shop here because you're not dark enough, you're not black enough, and you're with your white mother. I guess she just assumed that that was her mom. I don't know if it was her mom or not, but because this white woman happened to be accompanying this light skinned black woman, all of a sudden she was not welcome in a black beauty supply store. Yeah. And a similar thing happens on the flip side with white spaces, but we'll get there. That on its own kind of made me feel like I'm not going to go to the beauty supply store, but also the rhetoric, the race-based rhetoric around, Kamala Harris, that also makes me feel uncomfortable as well because, it's all about who you are associated with via phenotype or who you were seen in public with, right? Which leads me to my next point. I definitely don't want to be in, I don't feel comfortable in America, not in this country, being in large groups of monoracial people, particularly for this point, monoracial Black people. Because again, it's who you're associated with. That type of thing would make you a target. I believe that. It would make you a target to whatever outside group doesn't like you, right? And while this exists for pretty much every group in America, I think we can all agree that the groups that have the most polarity in America, the most tense and heated, um, I guess you can say, heated emotions when it comes to groups would be Black people, Black Americans, and white Americans. So I'm doing my best to avoid going to events or going to meetups or being in areas where I'm going to be engulfed in a large group of monoracial Black people. And because I am a Black woman, people don't really do the math when they see you. They just like, oh, okay, this one just happens to be mixed and ambiguous, but she's around all these Black people, so she must be Black. And assumptions like that are made. When you are standing alone, people have to take more time and do a little bit more work. There's added mystery, right? People have to do more work to figure out what box to put you in. I noticed that in American culture, people want to put you in a box all the time. So I don't want to make it easy for anyone to put me in a box. And I would suggest that you not do the same. Another reason why I'm pulling away from Black spaces is because we almost lost a light skinned Black woman to a gunshot. That happened when she was performing. She was an up and coming singer in her local area. Her name was Jada Thomas, or her name is Jada Thomas because she's still recovering. And so she was performing, and while she was performing on stage, she was shot. Okay, but the place that she was performing at is the reason why I'm bringing this up because she was shot at the Black Academy of Arts, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember where this was, but I do know that, across America, you will have in different states, you'll have like a Black Academy of Arts or something like that. And usually it is one of those institutions where Black people can promote their culture and have, these cultural events, just how you have in like museums or when you want to promote Black art or if you want to promote Asian art, and you have, Asian American cultural centers. This is one of those places like that. And she was shot by an unambiguous Black woman whose name I think her name is Micah Williams. Both of these ladies were in their mid 20s. So I'm in that same age range. If it can happen to her, it can happen to me. And if it can happen to her, it can happen to you. So for that reason, I am definitely pulling away from monoracial Black spaces. On to the white spaces. So I was a part of some social groups that were not political at all, have nothing to do with race or anything like that. And even though it's mostly women, it was also mostly monoracially white. And I tend not to go to the events in that group very frequently just because I know that in my area, you just never know what kind of white people are going to be there. There's all different types of white people in America, okay? So I don't want to group everyone in one generalization, but it's something to be aware of. So I think I'm going to be pulling back from that. Again, I saw girls getting online, some of them that I knew, like even on my own Facebook timeline, going crazy, crying, breaking up with each other's best friends over an election. I don't want any parts of that. I don't want any parts of that. Also, you guys know that I am Hindu and I am vegetarian. So that on its own kind of makes this easier for me because most of the times when I want to go out to eat, I'm not going to a non-vegetarian restaurant or a restaurant that traditionally serves up cows. Like I'm not going there. And usually, because I'm not going to places like that, I'm not in a predominantly white space or a predominantly black space. I'm also pulling back from those really hip yoga studios. I really loved going to yoga studios for a while until earlier this year. I started to feel uncomfortable with some of the other people that would be there with me. I found that I like smaller classes. I like more intimate settings. And so I'm going away from yoga studios and going back to doing like these, private yoga classes that are with actual therapists or yoga classes that are promoted from within my own community. So yeah, I think where was I going to go next with this? Before I get into the other points, there was something else that I wanted to say about this that I'm trying to remember. And I'm not like scripting right now, obviously. I'm just going off the cuff here. There was something else that I wanted to say. Maybe it'll come up later on. But yeah, multicultural spaces. I am trying to do my best to involve myself even more in the multicultural spaces that I'm already a part of. So, like I said before, I'm Hindu, I'm vegetarian. I do use, multiculturalism and religion to social climb. I'm also Haitian, so I speak French. I don't speak Creole, unfortunately, but that does help me. I am in a particular sect of Hinduism where we have all races, all backgrounds, and people from different countries who also speak other languages as well. As a Hindu, you also end up learning quite a bit of Sanskrit. Now, the reason I feel safer in these spaces than I do in monoracial or monocultural spaces is because, again, like people really don't know what to think of you. In America, we have had bombings, we have had, acts of violence that were based on hatred for groups. When it comes to a space that is as multicultural and diverse as that, you can't attack that group without attacking someone who represents a part of you. So, for example, a white person wouldn't be able to attack us because they would have to like mess up a lot of white people. There are a lot of white people in our space. Same thing goes for Indian people. Same thing goes for Canadian people. Same thing goes for Hispanic people. Same thing goes for Black people. We literally have everyone. Okay, so that is one of the ways that I protect myself by clinging to that, by not letting that go. I do most of my socializing and my network in this space. And a lot of times when people hear the word Hindu, they just think about religion, but it goes more than that. Like this is also culture as well, like Vedic culture, South Indian culture, things like that, where a lot of the values surrounding family, surrounding diet, surrounding exercise, health, and lifestyle, leisure, pastimes, they're all are very similar, not necessarily exactly the same, but very similar, and at the same time, very different from American values and everyday American life. Although I would argue that our way of life is symbolic of American everyday life, maybe the evolution of American everyday life. But anyways, another reason why I am clinging to this and I'm going to continue to use being Hindu and being in these spaces of social climb is because if you don't know, out of all of the religions in the world, Hindus have some of the wealthiest or richest people in the world. So I think I looked at a chart not too long ago, and I think Buddhism was at the bottom, Hinduism was at the top. I think under Hinduism was Islam. I can't remember where Christianity was, but you can definitely look it up if that's something that interests you. Another reason why I feel safe in this particular multicultural space is because I know that I'm not going to be condemned or questioned or categorized based on what my racial background, or what my phenotype represents to another person politically. Whereas if I was in another space, even if it be, because we also have Arab spaces and other like generally Desi spaces in my area. So like even if I was in a monoracially Pakistani setting, or a monoracially Palestinian setting, I would not necessarily feel comfortable because of everything that's going on. People do tend to have or form a political opinion, and they will project it on you, especially if they've been in America for quite some time. That's just what happens in America, especially if you don't have like a culture that is promoting values that's like the opposite of that. And I may not necessarily say like a Pakistani, but I've had experiences where, Pakistani people are like, and I'm talking about Muslim Pakistani people, okay, have literally come up to me out of the blue and asked me what I thought about some of the things that they had to deal with you know, deportation laws when Trump was president the last time. They like literally would come up to me and ask me what I thought. And I never knew why. I always wondered, it must have been something that it must have been something about the way that I looked that made them feel comfortable or made them feel like they could ask me. And while I was very sympathetic and I'm very empathetic and understanding, I feel really bad that, the issue was so heavy that they felt that they needed to get an actual American's opinion. But me, I'm just so shy when it comes to those types of conversations. I would prefer not to have them at all. Not in this country. Maybe if I lived in another country, like if I lived in Thailand or if I lived somewhere else, maybe I would feel more at liberty to speak about what I really think and what I really believe about American politics. But that is something I don't think I will ever do, not even on a anonymous channel. That's how uncomfortable I feel with it. And that's one of the ways that I make sure that I continue to survive and thrive in America, by abstaining from those conversations. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, we can get into the really, really yummy, yummy stuff. Okay, so one of the ways that I have been thriving in 2024, and I will continue to thrive now that Trump is president, is I have been learning about Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is not something that you trade, it's something that you buy and you keep, right? And because of how simple that is, some people are like, okay, well, what is there to learn? I can just get Bitcoin on my Cash App. No, 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 no. I've been studying the right wallets to get. I've been learning how to use coin joins to protect my privacy. And I've been learning how to legally evade paying taxes on Bitcoin. The reason why I have made the decision to be more aggressive with Bitcoin, especially now that Trump is president, is because one, Trump cares about money. We all know that Trump is good with money. Trump cares about money. He cares about business owners. To what extent, I don't know. But based on his last presidency, a lot of business owners were able to advance quite a bit financially because they were business owners, because they were building up wealth. Okay, so I understand that moving forward in America, that's going to be a priority. That's going to be something that's very valued, that sets us apart from the rest, right? So Bitcoin is one of those things that uh, is something that it's going to turn into something completely different. Right now, it's kind of being used as like a saving technology, but in the future, it's going to turn into something completely different. I don't know what, but it seems like the value of Bitcoin is infinite, or will become infinite. If you've ever taken like calculus or math class and you learned what an asymptote is, and you had to write the equation and show that it was approaching infinity, but it never quite ends, or something is approaching zero and it never quite gets to zero. Well, something like that is happening with Bitcoin. It's steady, it's exponential, it's not going anywhere. It has an actual cycle. And without getting too deep into it, I'll just say this. The reason why I'm focusing on this so much as a way to thrive as a light skinned exotical in the United States and anywhere, honestly, in the world, I want to thrive no matter where I go, is because in the year 2140, there will be no more Bitcoin. There will be no more Bitcoin. 2140 is only 116 years from now. So that's only like 3 or 4 generations. I'll probably be dead. How old am I? Yeah, I'll probably be dead because the healthiest human only lives to be like 124 years old, right? But that's only 3 or 4 generations. And all these people online or in the media, all the politicians and stuff talking about, oh, Bitcoin is bad. I don't like Bitcoin. It's because it's going to be America's kryptonite. It's going to be America's kryptonite. A new world is coming. So, yeah, that is why I am being more aggressive with Bitcoin as a means to thrive as a light skinned exotical. If you'd like to hear me talk more about Bitcoin, let me know. Comment down below Bitcoin, and I'll probably make a blog about some of the resources and tools that I have been using to educate myself about Bitcoin and actually start investing where I know that the US is going to come after me and tax everything just because I move it from one wallet to another. But yeah, let's see. My next point is building up my business. That's right. So this kind of feeds into building up my business. I don't go to work anymore. I learned pretty quickly that that just was not for me. Working for someone else is not for me. Working in an office as a light skinned exotical is not for me. Like I said, you get heat from both black people and white people. It's the whole monoracial, monocultural thing. I can't stand that about America sometimes. But yeah, I'm not going back to the office. So the work I do now is actual contract work, where I have an LLC. And so I'm constantly checking the laws in case there are any new laws passed with this presidency to make sure that I'm compliant with them. There was one passed earlier this year, I think in the beginning of the year. I can't remember what it was called, but basically we had to fill out some BOI form. I think it said like, I think it was a business offer. I can't remember what it stands for, you guys, but it's a BOI form. I had to fill it out just so I could say that, hey, I'm a business, and yeah, like I'm an LLC, I'm a business, and this is what I do. I don't know why that form needed to be made. I think it was a way to like crack down on side hustles or something like that. But I remember also I was looking into 2025, and on their page about the SBA, they did talk about um, what was it? Yeah, they talked about how they were going to change some of the SBA certifications and make it less based on disparate impact. So, as it stands right now, like if you have an LLC, if you own a business and you happen to be a Black woman and your business happens to be located in a socioeconomically disadvantaged area, you can get extra money for that. Well, Project 2025 is trying to restructure that so that the merit that business owners receive isn't based on, I guess you could call it affirmative action, right? So I try to stay educated on things like that, and I try to stay in compliance because I can clearly see that there's going to be the bar is going to be higher. The bar is going to be set higher and higher and higher for all Americans, whether or not you own a business. So yeah, that's just something that I'm focused on right now so that I can thrive as an exotical who owns a business. I'm also learning how to get paid in Bitcoin as a business. I work as a contractor. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, to learning how to get paid in Bitcoin. If you look at the US currency, like is down. It is so down. Like I would never trade Bitcoin for US dollars, you know. Now, obviously, I wouldn't want to get paid in all Bitcoin, right? Because I need to be able to like spend US dollars inside of the country while I'm here. But there's a way definitely to make sure that every time you get paid, that a certain amount of that automatically is transferred into Bitcoin so that it's not associated with anything like personal, like it just goes straight to your business account. Let's see. Oh yeah, well no, this isn't my last point. I think I have two more points after this. But one of the things that I have decided to do, I used to worry so much about credit and debt. I used to worry so much about these things. And while I don't have a lot of debt, I noticed that in America, especially if you were born here, like I was, it is very easy to accumulate debt. If you go to school, you're going to accumulate debt. Even if you don't finish your degree, you're going to accumulate debt, like if you use student loans, right? If you need a car, right, and you need to purchase it, right? If you buy it outright, that's fine, but you're going to experience a different kind of debt where you lose a lot of money from having to always fix up the car, things like that. Having to like pay fees when you trade it in, things like that. So I've never really liked that. I prefer leases, and even though that's based on credit, I mean that's the best. That's the best that I could do. If it were up to me, I would want to be somewhere where credit didn't matter at all, and it was just, hey, money, or it was easier to get transportation. Lyft and Uber, stuff like that, I don't have a problem with continuing to take those because I feel like it's more of a controlled setting, and I know some of the things to do to keep myself safe in those situations. But golly, it is expensive, and compared to other countries, it's not as expensive to move around. I don't want to buy a house. I thought that I did, but I definitely don't want to buy a house. Property taxes have been just climbing up and climbing up and climbing up. I don't want to experience that and experience a kind of a, where there's a hole in the ship and you're sinking because, there's a hole in the ship and all the water is leaking in. To me, that's what property taxes remind me of. Like you're just feeding money to the government and they can raise those taxes at any time. And additionally, they can tell you, hey, move. This is government property now at any time. I don't like that. And I'm sure that there are similar laws in other countries as well, but I would just prefer not to actually own a house, not in America at least. And then I'm no longer focused on paying off debt. Of course, I do like to every now and then like dispute stuff on my credit report when I feel like it probably has expired by now and they don't have my records. But the time and resources that it takes to pay off debt can be used instead to make money. So yeah, I thought I was going to pay off one of my student loans, and instead I use that to get I use part of it to get Bitcoin education and to start my LLC and other things that I feel like were really big investments. And I got a really big return on investment, is what I mean to say. I got a really big return on investment for that because before I made that decision, I was so scared of making those decisions. I was so scared of buying Bitcoin. I knew that it wasn't going to be enough for me to just buy Bitcoin in my Cash App, but I was too scared to like do anything else because I was like, oh, I'm too ignorant or I don't know enough. And this particular course is just like so expensive or whatever. Well, it was worth it. That's what I will say. So this tip overall, I guess I would call it abstaining from investing in dying assets because that's really what real estate is. Real estate, cars, uh, credit. I think those are all dying assets. I think 50 to 100 years from now, we're going to be playing a totally different ball game. Totally different ballgame. And that leads me to my next point. I did mention that, it takes a lot of time and resources to pay off United States debt. I'm talking about the debt on your credit report, not necessarily debt that you owe to the IRS. And another thing that I like to use that money and that time for instead is to make some travel plans. I'm considering starting off traveling just like a couple of weeks at a time, or I can just get away from America for a little bit and just experience something different, and then eventually possibly even move out of the country. And so that's something that I want to invest in. I don't have to be in the United States to work. I already have income generated from my business, and I can do it from anywhere in the world. And I can even employ other people or bring new business to some of these countries because they don't have to be US citizens to do this work either. So, yeah, those are the things that I am doing to thrive as an exotical in 2024 Trump presidency. What are you doing? Let me know in the comments some of the things that you are doing to kind of navigate the current climate and to make sure that you put yourself first and put your best interest first above anything. Uh, I want to say this. This is coming up for me right now. Again, you guys, this is not scripted, so I apologize for the interruptions. Something that I have noticed on this journey so far in 2024 is that you will be tested. You will be tested, and when I say tested, I mean you will have something very tempting to tend to, very real, very serious. Just like how we talk about colorism is real, we talk about how white supremacy is real. Okay, well, more personal things like health issues with a family member, or let's say someone needs your help, they're in a desperate situation, or like the war that's going on. There's a lot of things pulling at our attention right now, pulling at our resources right now, and it's going to be very challenging, but you can do it. It's going to be very challenging to take your attention away from all of that and put yourself first because of the current climate, but you can do it. I don't know why that came up, but that just came up, and it will feel like you're choosing two different realities. It will feel like you're abandoning it will feel like you're abandoning a reality, an entire reality, and that can be quite painful, but it is necessary if you want to thrive. Think about how when you're getting ready to leave somewhere and get on a plane, and your family is there, staying behind, and they're waving at you, bye bye, and it will feel like that, but way more excruciating because sometimes the people waving back at you, they might be actually crying. They might be screaming and kicking for you to come back. Please don't go. I'm going to encourage you to keep moving forward. Because that's what has been helping me. Like keep moving forward. Don't think about any of this other stuff, because at the end of the day, if you are full of resources, you are abundant in resources. If you get yourself to a place where you are abundant in resources, that's what I'm trying to do. I know that I can go back and save other people, so to say. That's when I can go back and save other people. But I can't pour from an empty cup, or not even a half full cup. I can't pull from a 75% full cup. I only want to pour from an overflowing cup. You hear me? So I hope this video has been helpful to you. Again, like I said, let me know in the comments below what you're doing to thrive as an exotical in the current climate. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. And also be sure to comment Bitcoin down below in the comments if you'd like me to share some more content. I will not be putting that content on YouTube, but rather on my blog on buymeacoffee.com/DOLCE. Thank you so much for watching and have an amazing rest of your day, babes.